If you are an Australian retiree, or you reckon you're finally getting close to hanging up the boots and enjoying retirement, there is a date you need to circle in red on your calendar right now. That date is September 2026, and I'm going to be straight with you, mate. If you miss this deadline, it could cost you thousands of dollars from your hard-earned superannuation, or worse, leave you exposed to a nasty tax bill from the ATO that you absolutely never saw coming. Right now, as we speak, hundreds of thousands of hard-working Aussie retirees have absolutely no idea this deadline even exists. They are flying blind. You see, superannuation rules in Australia have changed more in the last 18 months than at any point in the last decade. The goalposts haven't just been moved, they've been completely ripped out of the ground and placed on a different playing field. And September 2026 is shaping up to be one of the most critical, make or break months for anyone relying on their super to fund their twilight years. So grab a cuppa, sit down, and stick with me for the next few minutes, because what you are about to hear could genuinely protect your nest egg from unnecessary taxes and government penalties. G'day, and welcome back to Aussie Benefit, the channel where we cut through the Canberra jargon and break down superannuation, retirement planning, and government benefits into simple, fair dinkum, practical information that every Australian can actually use. If this is your first time dropping by, hit that subscribe button right now. We publish new, in-depth videos every single week covering the sneaky changes that affect your retirement income, your age pension, and your super balance. And look, if you find this video helpful today, do us a massive favor and smash that like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm to share this video, which genuinely helps more Aussie retirees find this channel and get the information they desperately need to protect their wealth. Now, before we get into the weeds, I want to be 100% upfront. This video provides general information only. It is not personal financial advice. Every bloke and Sheila's situation is completely unique. So whether you've got a retail fund, an industry fund, or your own self-managed super fund, always check the official details on the ATO website or speak with a licensed financial advisor before making any big moves. Right, with the housekeeping out of the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes of why September 2026 matters so bloody much for Australian retirees. Over the past year, the superannuation system in Australia has gone through a massive wave of reforms. The government has been looking closely at how much money is sitting in super, and frankly, they've decided they want a bigger slice of the pie. Several of these major legislative changes officially kick in around the middle of 2026. But why September? Because July 1st is when the laws change, but September is when the grace periods end. September is when the first quarter reporting hits. September is when the ATO expects your paperwork to be flawless. It's the compliance checkpoint where the rubber meets the road. Let's break down the three massive pillars of change hitting you at this exact moment. The first big shockwave is the new tax treatment for large superannuation balances, widely known in the financial world as the Division 296 tax. From the 1st of July 2026, if your total super balance sits above $3 million, you're going to be hit with a higher tax rate. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Mate, I don't have $3 million in super. This doesn't affect me. But hold your horses, because this threshold is indexed, and it has ripple effects across the whole system. For those who are in that upper tier, or approaching it, the government isn't just taxing the cash you withdraw. They are taxing your earnings, and in many cases, they are looking at taxing unrealized gains. That means if you have an investment property or shares inside your super that go up in value on paper, even if you haven't sold them to make actual cash, you could still get slapped with a tax bill. Now, here is where the September 2026 deadline becomes a landmine. For retirees who are close to that threshold, the decisions you make in the lead up to this date are critical. One of the biggest strategies is whether to reset the cost base on your fund's assets. In simple terms, resetting the cost base tells the ATO the current value of your assets before the new, harsher tax rules kick in. But this doesn't happen automatically. It requires formal elections, complex paperwork, and official ATO processes. The windows to lodge this paperwork are strict. They extend just slightly into the new financial year, culminating around our dreaded September deadline. If you or your accountant miss these lodgement windows, you lose access to historical tax concessions. And let me be clear, those concessions will not come back around. Once the ATO closes that door, it's bolted shut. You could literally be costing your retirement fund tens of thousands of dollars just because a form was submitted a week late. All right, let's move to the second major shift, Payday Super. Historically in Australia, Employers were only legally required to pay your superannuation guarantee into your account once a quarter. That's 4 times a year. This old system led to billions of dollars in unpaid or stolen super because businesses would go bust before the end of the quarter, leaving workers high and dry. To fix this, the government legislated Payday Super, which officially starts on the 1st of July 2026. Under this brand new system, employers are required by law to pay your superannuation contributions at the exact same time they pay your wages. If you get paid fortnightly, your super must land in your fund fortnightly. Now, you might be fully retired and think this doesn't apply to you. But what about the semi-retirees? What about those of you doing a couple of days a week at Bunnings, or doing some part-time consulting to top up the pension? Or what if you are receiving the very last of your employer contributions before fully leaving the workforce in late 2026? This change completely flips how and when your money lands in your account. Employers will only have a very limited number of business days after each payday to clear those contributions into your nominated fund through the SuperStream system. So why does September 2026 matter here? Because July and August will be total chaos. Businesses, payroll software, and clearinghouses are going to be scrambling to adjust to this massive operational shift. By September 2026, the first real test of this system will be underway. The ATO will begin auditing the first quarter. Penalties, super guarantee charges, and exceptional circumstance determinations will start flying out the door to employers who have fallen behind. If you are still receiving any form of employer contributions during this time, you cannot afford to be passive. September is the month you must sit down with a cup of coffee, open your super app, and check your statements ruthlessly. You need to confirm that your payments are actually landing on time. If your boss's payroll system crashes and your super isn't paid, you are losing out on vital compound interest right at the finish line of your working life. Let's move to the third area that catches out more retirees than almost anything else. It is the silent killer of retirement wealth, the transfer balance cap. Think of your superannuation in 2 phases. Phase 1 is the accumulation phase. This is where your money grows while you work, and the earnings are taxed at 15%. Phase 2 is the pension phase. This is the holy grail. When you retire, you move your money into the pension phase, where earnings and withdrawals are entirely tax-free. It is the best tax haven in Australia. But the government doesn't let you put unlimited money into that tax-free environment. They put a lid on it, and that lid is called the transfer balance cap. For the 2026 to 2027 financial year, this cap sits at a projected $2.1 million per person. Now, if your super balance has grown significantly over the last few years, maybe your industry fund had a stellar run of double-digit returns, or maybe you finally consolidated 3 old accounts into one, you need to know exactly what your personal cap is. I cannot stress this enough. Exceeding this cap is a nightmare. If you accidentally move $2.2 million into your tax-free pension account, you trigger what the ATO calls an excess transfer balance tax. Not only do you have to pull the excess money back out of the tax-free environment, but you get hit with a penalty tax on the earnings that excess money made. And correcting this mistake after the ATO catches you is a massive, stressful, and expensive headache. It is far less painful to check your numbers before the September checkpoint. Retirees who haven't reviewed their transfer balance account in the last 12 months are exactly the people who get caught in this trap. They assume the rules are the same as when they retired 5 years ago. They aren't. And it doesn't stop there, mate. There is an ongoing fierce conversation in Canberra right now around the preservation age, the age you can legally access your super. Currently it's 60 for most people, but policymakers are constantly reviewing this as life expectancy increases. Then we have the contribution caps, which reset every single financial year. Take the non-concessional contributions cap, for example. This is the after-tax money you put into super. Did you know that this cap drops to absolute zero once your total super balance passes that $2.1 million mark? Every year, thousands of retirees who inherit money or downsize their family home assume they can just chuck that extra cash into their super the same way they always have. They transfer the money, breach the cap, and suddenly they are dealing with the taxman. And for those of you out there running a self-managed super fund, an SMSF, listen up. You are the trustee. You are legally responsible. You can't just blame your industry fund if something goes wrong, because you are the fund. Income tax returns, audit reports, and the opt-in elections tied to these new tax rules have specific rigid lodgement deadlines. Many of these critical deadlines converge right in this September 2026 window. Missing an SMSF lodgement date doesn't just mean a slap on the wrist anymore. It can mean losing your fund's complying status, massive fines for you as a director, and losing eligibility for concessions that were specifically designed to protect long-term investors like you from an unfair tax hit. Right, I've hit you with a lot of heavy information, and I know it can feel overwhelming. But don't panic. You have time to get your ducks in a row provided you act now. So, what should you actually do with all of this information to protect yourself before September 2026? I've broken it down into a simple 3-step action plan. Step number 1, the MyGov Audit. This weekend, grab your iPad or laptop, log into your MyGov account, and ensure it is linked to the ATO. I want you to check 2 specific numbers: your current total superannuation balance and your personal transfer balance cap. Write those numbers down on a piece of paper. Knowing exactly where you stand is half the battle. Step number 2, the expert powwow. If you work with an accountant, a tax agent, or a financial advisor, do not wait until Christmas. Pick up the phone tomorrow and book a sit-down review with them well before the end of September. Why? Because the legal strategies available to manage these tax changes, like resetting cost bases or reweighting your portfolio, literally shrink the closer you get to the deadline. If you are self-managing your super, you must demand written confirmation from your accountant that your fund does not need to lodge any special elections around the cost-based reset. Make sure your paperwork is signed, sealed, and delivered before the cutoff. Step number 3, the Payslip Matchup. If you are still working in any capacity, whether it's 2 days a week or full-time, start keeping your physical or digital payslips. Log into your Super Funds app and match the dates. Confirm that your employer is strictly keeping up with the new Payday Super laws. If they are falling behind, you need to raise it with HR immediately before your money gets lost in the transition. Look, none of these steps take more than a single afternoon, but skipping them? Putting them in the too hard basket? That could cost you far more than an afternoon's worth of time, and potentially tens of thousands of dollars down the track. The absolute bottom line is this, mates. Superannuation in Australia is not a set and forget system anymore. Those days are gone, especially not through 2026. The rules are shifting constantly, the thresholds are moving targets, and the government, armed with single-touch payroll and instant fund reporting, is watching your contributions and your balances more closely than at any point in Australian history. September 2026 is not the end of these changes. Oh no, there will be more. But it is a genuine checkpoint. It is a defining moment where the paperwork, the tax elections, and the compliance windows for several major reforms all line up at exactly the same time. The retirees who take an hour this month to take control, to check their balance, review their transfer cap, and audit their contribution settings will be in a far stronger, much wealthier position than those who bury their head in the sand and wait until the tax office sends them a nasty letter in the mail. That wraps up everything you need to know to prepare for the September 2026 superannuation deadline. If this video helped clear things up and gave you a bit of direction, please hit that like button. It takes 1 second, but it really does make a massive difference for a growing channel like ours. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Aussie Benefit so you do not miss the next video. We are going to be covering more of these superannuation traps, age pension updates, and retirement changes as they unfold throughout the year. Before you go, drop a comment below. Let us know. What is your biggest fear or your biggest question about your super balance or your retirement plan right now? We read every single comment, and it directly helps us shape our future videos around what you actually want to know. Thanks so much for watching, mate. Take care of your retirement, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one.